All right, it is 6 p.m. I'm going to call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors to order. Would note for the record that all members are present physically, but for Mrs. Kaiser, who is participating telephonically. And I guess we'll take that matter up later on in the agenda, approval of her participation by phone. However, as we begin, let's bow our heads and join our hearts with a word of prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us here in Dickinson County. I humbly ask that your hand be over this meeting as we make decisions for the betterment and improvement of Dickinson County. Please lead, guide, and direct us as we take up the county's business. I ask a special blessing on each household represented here. I ask a blessing on our community, our law enforcement, our armed service members, our teachers, our children. And Lord, I just ask that you help us make the right decisions to move Dickinson County forward for our citizens. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Ron, do you care to lead us?
Maryland, right, face flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I have, well, first, I guess we probably need to put agenda approval before approval of minutes going forward, wouldn't you say? But we'll do the minutes first anyway. Approval of minutes from the February 21st special call meeting and the public hearing of March 28th and the regular meeting of March 28th. Are there any issues with those minutes or motions coming out of those minutes?
If there's no questions, I make a motion that we approve both of them.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well, Madam Clerk. That brings us to item 3, approval of the agenda. I have a couple.
Excuse me, Josh, do you all need to approve me being,
Yeah, we need to do that, I guess.
We do, and we can put that as, right after the approval of the agenda or whatever.
Well, let's go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. Well, let's do it before because we're going to have some additions.
I
So
think that'll be good.
if you want to read that relevant code section, and Ms. Kaiser will articulate for the record why and where she is. Go ahead and do that, Ms. Kaiser, while Mr. Sturgill's pulling the code.
this is Peggy Kaiser. I am at home at 740 Diners Chapel Road. I had second knee replacement surgery 3 weeks ago yesterday, and the doctor advises not to be in meetings as long as our board meetings go 3 and 4 hours with my leg hanging down due to blood clot.
Ms. Sturgill, that's a adequate reason for her electronic participation.
That is, and it's under 2.2 3708 of the Virginia Code 3708.3.
So pursuant to that relevant code section Mr. Sturgill read, is there a motion to allow Ms.
Yeah, I'll
Kaiser
make the
to
motion.
participate via electronic means? Is there a motion by Mr. Peters or a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well. So Ms. Kaiser, you're good to go. Thank you.
Okay, and I will abstain.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so that takes us to item 3, approval of the agenda. I have 2 matters that I'd like to add. The first matter being the behavioral health appropriation for fiscal year 23 and 24. I would like to have that as a discussion item under new business. If we could just add that maybe as 1A. I know we have the pool on there, so that would probably be an appropriate spot for that. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Barton?
You want it 1A?
Yes, if that's okay. And then I also have another matter. It's a recreational matter for, it's really in Peggy's district, have Mr. Branham from the Clinchco who wants to discuss and address the board about his bridge there. And I'd like to have him have the opportunity to do that. I think probably maybe let him go after Mr. Stanley. I know Jack's on the agenda for his matter. If we could have Mr. Branham added for that after Mr. Stanley, if that's okay with other members.
And it's concerning what?
His bridge, he just has some ideas about tourism and about how his bridge could promote Dickinson
Okay.
County, and just wants to present some ideas and stuff to our board. And he asked me to put that on, and I said I would, and I think it's something to
That's
listen
on
to.
that's on that swinging bridge.
Yes,
right?
ma'am, right, yep.
Yeah, okay.
So
Where
that's
did
all
you
I
put-
have.
Where did you put the other one, behavior?
Well, I said, well,
And
so I guess
American
my
Pool
suggestion
Lease.
would be we'd leave A alone. We would make Mr. Branham B, and then start the lease with Bear Pen at C and modify that all the way down.
Yeah, yeah.
See what I'm saying?
No, I'm good with that,
Okay.
but,
Mr. Chair, we also have the addendum.
That's right, and the, so we'll
Yes.
have item 8, H and I.
yeah.
Okay, so does any other members have any other
Well,
additions or modifications?
where I was trying to clarify is where did you put the discussion on behavioral health?
So I guess it would be with B.
You put
Would
it
be
1A,
B?
didn't
I
you?
know, but I made a mistake. Let's just say just B and add, say a
Got
slash
it.
and
Okay,
put
I-
behavioral health appropriation.
Okay. Okay,
So if everybody's okay with that, then I would need a motion to amend the agenda with additions, B, the behavioral health, then C, Mr. Branham, and then the H and I addendums that we have attached here.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented and added to.
Mr. Chair, one more thing before y'all vote on that. We have
Okay.
this lane group.
Would that be the pool though, wouldn't it?
Was that the pool?
It pertains to the pool, but it's not the.
So we
lease
need to
being
add that
released,
also?
so-
Okay, well, I tell you what, let's just, well, let's correct B, let's amend B, I suggest in the motion, amend B to pool discussion,
Okay.
and/or repair and
Gotcha.
behavioral health.
Gotcha.
Consolidate that and just amend it, those two things. If you have a motion to that effect.
I make a motion to that effect.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion on the agenda? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well. That brings us to item 4, the consent agenda. Are there any matters any members would like to ask Mr. Barton about
We
in the
took up
consent
Peggy
agenda?
yet?
We did.
Okay. Thank you.
Larry, is there anything significant in the consent agenda we need to
No,
be
no, sir,
aware of?
nothing significant out of the ordinary on that.
Ms. Kaiser, do you have anything on the consent agenda you'd like to discuss?
No, I don't think so.
Anyone else? If there's not, then we'd entertain a motion to approve it.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda A, B, C, D, E, and F.
So we have a motion, is there a second?
second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As well. That brings us to item number 5, rather quickly in the evening, public comment. The podium is open here for public remark. You can come on, sir.
You can come on. Sure.
You'll be limited to 3 minutes. If you would, please state your name and address when you come to the podium. And we just ask to be respectful and courteous, no derogatory or cursing language. And we also have, if anybody wants to be on deck, the phone line open, 276-333-0357. Good afternoon, sir.
My name is Jerry Kaiser. I live at 103 Peanut Hill in Dixon County, upper part of Canyon Ridge. We have a major problem with a guy, litter, I guess you'd call it. I had pictures here to show you if you'd like to look at those.
Did you say litter?
It's litter.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is litter, junk.
Terry,
Yeah.
where you get those from, if you want to?
Are you talking about where Hamilton Chapel Church is and around that road
No,
there?
it's Pine Grove.
Pine Grove Church
Town
and right through there.
It's Pine Grove Church there.
He has about 8 junk vehicles sitting on the county roads that we have tried to get them moved. I don't understand why the county can't move them. They're sitting right on the county roads you see from the pictures there.
Have you called us, or anybody here yet? Or just tonight? You called Ms. Willis?
He
Yes.
did call
Okay.
me, and this has been several, maybe a year ago, cause Eugene put a notice on the door. There wasn't anybody home. And I know Eugene was the county leader at that time.
He has turned the house up so bad, so much junk around that he moved out of that house and to another house. And the house he moved to, after passing every day going up my driveway to where I live, you get tired of looking at somebody's junk stuck around everywhere. We'd like to know if the county can do anything about it.
Do we have an ordinance on that?
We do, I think.
We do have a junk car ordinance.
That
Yeah.
we don't
Yeah,
have the
I don't
ordinance on junk
remember
cars, do we?
what leadway we have, that's the reason.
Is it cars? Is that what it is? I've got the ordinance pulled up.
Yeah, that's what I've read it, but I just don't remember.
There's something in there on junk cars, I think, but we have never, it's hard to enforce.
Yeah, we have on cars.
You got that one on
We
Hill
have,
Ridge moved, didn't
because
you?
they did some at
I thought truck
Trammell.
moved on Hill Ridge, yeah,
How'd you
but
do
that's
that?
just one truck.
There's 8 that he has on the county road there, the junk cars.
Let me get this straight in my mind. It's near Pine Grove Church,
It's
Yes,
on
turn off
Hamilton
at
Town,
Pine
don't
Grove.
it?
down
Church.
Hamilton Town,
Yeah.
turn left
Yeah.
and go down in
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
Is it at the end of the road, or
I'm sorry.
does it come to the end of the road?
No,
No,
no.
it doesn't.
Cause I've been around through there, and
No,
this is recent.
The first one is the county road, right?
Yes.
The others aren't though, are they?
No, they're
Yep.
not county
Yeah.
roads. They're just junk that he scattered around on the properties there.
You have a road number though, don't you, Jerry?
I think it is
It's a
Does he
state
own
road,
that
isn't it?
road?
Yeah,
or
there's
along
a
that
road number there.
along that road, yes, sir.
Okay, but the one is in the road, I can see that.
Well, there's 7 more that are in the road.
I
junk
believe
cars.
you, cause it looks like he's got a collection.
Looks like
Yeah.
he's got 3, 4, 5.
I can only tell from this picture
I
one of them.
understand. I understand.
I'll be in
You wanna see that, Larry?
Is it the first road you turn left as you go around Hamilton Chapel?
You go around Hamilton, no, you don't turn left. You stay straight on the
Keep
road.
straight on the
Up
road.
the hill, and you get up top of the hill where it tops out now.
I don't
Peanut
think
Hill
we
turns to
have
the
anything
right,
if it's on his
and
land.
all along there is where
I
the
didn't think so.
junk cars
It's the
are
one
set.
that's on the
Mr. Hill, we're
road.
gonna get our people up there to check it out and talk with you and identify the property owner and try to figure something out for you, okay?
Okay, we
Could
certainly
you give me
would
that
Well, I'm
address
appreciate
sure
again
has
where
your
this
phone number,
property
right?
is?
Yeah.
Yes,
I know how to get hold
Yes,
of it.
I'll
ma'am.
be glad to give it
Oh,
to you.
what's the address again?
Shelby has it.
My
Show me
address,
anything.
Okay, cause he's right there.
my address is 103 Peanut Hill in Colbert.
Coburn.
It's
How
in
long's it
Dixon
been like
County.
this? A long time?
Oh, huh. 2 years, I'd say.
We
It's been
will,
years since Eugene went up there.
Mr. Hill, we will, do you want these photos back or are these ours?
I would like to have it back, if you
Yes,
don't
sir. We'll
mind.
give them back to you right now, but we will follow up. Thank you.
Okay.
Now,
for coming out.
you did talk to him and he hasn't cooperated.
He has no
Yeah.
intentions of moving anything.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed these people, are they with you? These,
Yeah. One's his
there
brother.
is a thing in the Code of Virginia called nuisance abatement. I think if you get five concerned citizens, and they take it to the Commonwealth Attorney, then he can take it before a grand jury and get, now whether he will do that, I don't know.
We will certainly be glad to
But
do
I
that.
think there is in the Code of Virginia a statement that says that if you have 5 concerned citizens and they take it to the Commonwealth Attorney, he can take it before a grand jury.
I'm sure they got more than 5 out there.
Yeah.
If I had a book, we could look it up, but there is.
You will be hearing from us, so.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
You will be hearing from us.
From the
You're
litter.
welcome.
Well, yeah.
I wish to do something
Is
about
there anyone
mine.
else that'd like
It's
to
right
make a
across
public
from his
comment
house.
in person?
Drury
Mr.
house.
Muller?
Oh, who ran the road?
We'll leave it open another minute.
Goes down there at the station at Coburn, right on it.
Mercy.
Anyone else in
Well,
person that would like to
stop
make a public remark? Mr. Muller? Members satisfied moving forward for public comment? We'll move on then to item 6. That brings us to old business. John Rife with tax is here to address the board. Mr. Rife, how you doing?
Mr. Chairman, doing well, thank
Mr.
you.
Ruffin sent some information. It's in this addendum under 6A in your packet right here.
Just provided our standard report that we typically provide to the Treasurer's Office on a quarterly basis. It, of course, goes through March, but it doesn't show collections that have been done through April. on the first page. We just conducted our spring auction last week, and I think the board's been apprised. We collected a little over $60,000 through that auction. I think more importantly, we did have, just before the auction, we had 7 redemptions, and there were other redemptions on suits that we had filed previously to that. So just looking at from 2022 to 2023, those auctions, we've had about collected a little over $70,000 as a result of auctions from redemptions of people paying up before it goes to auction, which in my mind, that's the best win we can have, because we're in the collection business and not really the realtor business. So we want to try to collect the funds. Looking at the last few fiscal years, the last fiscal year we had collections of about $250,000, which was better than the year prior, which was around $210,000. So we're trending up with that, and we have currently we're sitting at about $210,000 that we've collected for the county, with 2 months still to go. So we're hoping to beat the $250,000 range. So. We have another auction that we're planning in the fall. So we've got a number of properties that we've already filed suit on that will be coming up to that. But also wanted to impart to the board that we just had a new attorney that we've hired, Garrett Patton, who graduated at ASL, and he's brand new, so he's learning the ropes. But we've situated him in Russell County, so he'll be close, and if the board ever needs us to step in quickly, we can. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have regarding overall collections that we're doing on real estate and personal property.
You currently know the redeemable amount owed to Dickinson County right now?
Well, the amount that is owed and that we're collecting on?
Well, I'm just saying, what is the amount of, and what I mean by redeemable, property you could sell or foreclose or collect on? Well, how much is owed delinquent to Dickinson?
Well, I can tell you how much is owed delinquent, but now some of these properties we're finding, of course, that there have been fractional interests that have been carried through.
Yeah.
So those are going to end up coming off of the rolls. But the balance.
Well, that's what I mean. So technically, that would be redeemable, though.
It would come off the rolls. You're not going to see that money, actual cash in hand, to put toward any budget items, of course. But the amount that we're collecting still in our shop is about 1.7 million for real estate and 670,000 for personal property.
How much in personal? I'm sorry.
670,000.
So $3.5 million in delinquent.
No, that works up to about
or $2.5 million. I'm
million.
sorry.
I got a question, sir. What year does it go back to right now, what you've been working?
Well, so for real estate, it goes back 20 years, but you don't have very many in real estate, and it's been a while since I've looked at that, Mr. Peters. But
Okay, I understand. I didn't know. I didn't think you'd be ready to say that.
I think you may have something like $3,000 that may be 20 years old, and those may be, small parcels. So
No, I
it's not very
understand.
many.
And the reason I asked is it used to come before us when I first got in this.
Mm-hmm.
We could see it stretched out 30 years back in it, and that tells me something. You guys have curbed that back to, there's not as much out there now.
Yeah, we cleaned those up. Any of the
that's
higher
what I
dollar
was
ones.
looking for.
Yeah, yes, sir. We cleaned those up some time ago.
Yeah, I thought you had.
I didn't know tax got involved in the personal property piece.
Yes, sir. Actually, we're probably from a firm perspective, we're probably collecting more in personal property than
Well, I
we are
guess it's a
real
little
estate.
bit easier.
So
somewhat.
what is personal property?
Not
that
really,
you
because
collect?
real estate doesn't move.
Mobile homes.
Yeah,
It's
cars.
mobile, double
Cars.
wise, right?
Yeah, double wides are taxed as real estate.
Okay.
So single wides would be taxed as personal property, but we have
So
more
you
cars.
sell single wides?
If we distrain the property, we would, but that normally doesn't happen. We typically are able to collect on mobile home, but the cars are the harder ones to
Does your
collect.
lien supersede a bank lien?
So yes, on specifically assessed items, and that's only really going to get involved when it's distraint. But if you go pull a title on a car, the county's lien doesn't show up on it. It's a statutory lien, but only if someone knows about it. So
So that's what I was going to say. They just signed the title to me, and I've claimed ignorance, and that would be.
you're a bona fide purchaser.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
it goes free and clear. Business personal property that is not an automobile is different. That lien follows through to the new owner.
Well, you know, I was on the board when we voted to allow the treasurer's office to collect through TAC. I thought it was only real estate.
It included both real estate and personal.
Yeah, I didn't know that either,
But-
which, that's fine with me.
But, yeah, but we started that somewhat
I
later
thought
in the
personal
contract.
property was collected through the, like the state,
No, it's,
through income taxes.
it is still collected. Well, that is, yes, so debt set off is one of the tools that the treasurer's office uses.
Right.
But that's passive in nature, so you're kind of sitting back waiting for the money to come. But it may not come, right? And it's also first come, first serve when she puts the file in with the Department of Taxation.
Have you done any vehicle repos, for lack of a better term?
We haven't distrained any of the vehicles. We're to the point now where we're going to start running some dockets, and certainly that we have an office here makes it a lot easier to do that. So just to make sure that we're preserving the later years and they're not rolling off by statute of limitations.
Sounds like a mess, though.
Nah,
Not too bad.
kind of got it down to a science.
Well, good.
We've got good staff to do it.
Ms. Kaiser, do you have anything for Mr. Rife?
No, don't think so, but I guess I'm like you all, I didn't stop to think that it would include, personal property though, but, you know, if you owe taxes, you owe taxes, regardless if it's personal property or real estate, you know.
And I understand, and this was probably a better question for Mrs. Rakes, but there are mechanisms in the code for driver's license stops and tag renewal stops. Is that still being implemented, I guess?
I think that Ms. Rakes will have to.
I understand
Treasurer
that's
Rakes,
more
yeah.
but 600,000 is a significant amount that's owed.
And a lot of that, you know, once we track the individual down, they may have moved across state lines. So we also
Right, that's-
we tell them what they need to do to bring the documentation into the commissioner's office. And yeah, I mean, and if that's taken off, I mean, that's a win for everybody. It's
Everybody, yeah.
one less ghost we're chasing.
Yes, sir. Well, I don't have anything. Mr. Rife, thanks. I don't know if Ms. Rakes wants to touch on anything I asked her.
Oh, okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, some of the things that we do, of course, I do DMV stops, I do pay lanes, I do bank lanes. We do not do debt set off now because most people doesn't get back much state income tax refunds. And it takes more time to try to collect a little bit of money than it's worth. So we have found that DMV stops and pay lanes and bank lanes, and then the use of TSCS has, now there is a lot of mobile homes that are dilapidated, that are still on the rolls, that we'll never collect on, the people passed away. And so there's a lot of stuff on the tax rolls that we'll never collect on. But I would like to.
So are you saying you don't do the DMV stops anymore?
She said she
I
did.
said I do
Oh, you
DMV
do.
stops, yeah,
Okay.
that's the first thing I
Okay.
mentioned.
I thought you said not.
No, I do.
Okay.
So I do want to bring another, something else. I'd like to clarify something to the public. So last month at the Board of Supervisors meeting, Mr. Evans accused me of having a secret bank account to keep my excess funds in from our land sales. The Treasurer's Office does not have a secret bank account. All this excess money goes into the General County Fund, which is on a report that each one of you get every month. There's no secret money out there. And I want to clarify that to the public, and I do feel that Mr. Evans owes me an apology for that. He made me look bad, made my staff look bad, and I think that we deserve an apology for you telling the public that we had a secret bank account. I have nothing to hide in my office. All of our money that comes in our office is in the General County Fund.
So where did the $27,000 come from that you told us that you had?
I said it come from excess funds
So if it
in
was
the General
rolled
County
over
Fund.
through 2 or 3 different budgets, how was it set aside? Then it had been spent and appropriated and spent.
I keep a running total of how much excess funds that we take in. That's where that $27,000 come at.
Well, excuse me, you said how many years did that accumulate?
It's a few years. I
Okay.
kept a running total of
And
how
you're the
much.
treasurer, right?
Huh?
You're the treasurer,
I am the treasurer.
and you
yes.
understand how budgets work in
I
local
do,
government?
Yes.
And that money's
And that's-
appropriated and spent, and we don't have, how did we carry over the
It's not
30
carried
plus
over.
thousand dollars you said that you
It rolls
had?
into into the
Well, how was
general
that
county
not spent
fund.
then?
I keep a running total, the
So you keep it to the side,
$27,000
right?
that no, I do not keep
Oh.
it aside. It's in the general county fund.
Well, how does it, how do you go with 2 years and keep 30-some thousand dollars that you know to the penny?
Mr. Barton,
I'm asking, no, I'm asking you. I'm not asking Mr. Barton. You asked me for an apology, so now I'm asking you, as the constitutional officer who's come and asked me for an apology on something wrong, to tell me where I'm wrong.
you asked me how much, and I told you how much we had collected in excess funds.
How much was that when you came and asked for bonuses for your staff?
At that point, it was like $27,000.
Okay, and how long of a period of time did that accumulate?
A couple years.
And so we appropriate money, correct, through revenue?
Yes.
We have a budget through revenue.
Yes.
And we have a budget that we spend. So how did that money not get spent if it wasn't set aside somewhere else?
It was in there in a line item. I kept a running total.
In a separate line
I asked
item.
for a one-time
Well, I'm not
bonus.
apologizing for anything.
Yeah.
So you've proven
I
my
think
point.
I
Thank
think I
you.
deserve an apology,
Well,
but
I'm
that's
sorry.
totally up to you.
Well, I
Now,
was right.
there is a separate account in the clerk's office, and I'm sure you're aware of that, and
No,
if
I'm not.
elected, we'll see how you deal with that.
Ms. Rakes, I'd like to ask you a question. Are you notifying people if their sales are more than what they owe? Or is that the money that you're keeping?
Would you like to address that, Mr. Ryan?
Sure. Ms. Wills, when we do the land sales, before we even begin the litigation on the land sales, we do our very best to track down as many heirs as we can.
I'm not wrong.
And I often apologize to the clerk's offices because it's normally a lot of people. I mean, I'm talking sometimes it's up to 190 heirs that we've tracked down, and we send them all letters before we initiate litigation. We have to make them a party to the suit as necessary parties if they may have an interest in the property. And most of them don't. It's rare for anybody to actually file an answer, and technically attorneys are not required to give additional notices of hearings coming up after the fact. I think it's important that they know what's going on, even if they didn't answer. So we give them, anytime we have a hearing coming up, something's filed with the clerk's office, on our certificate of mailing, we include all of those individuals, including the decree of confirmation that shows the excess proceeds that are to be held by the court. They get a copy of all of our documentation. But it is up to the heirs to go petition the court by code. They have to go petition the court for those excess proceeds. But they do get notice of what is being held by the
Yeah,
court.
but how many people out there know that if that property sells for more than what you owe in back taxes, that they have the right to come back in 2 years?
And I don't know how many people know that, but our decree of confirmation specifically says that if there are excess proceeds, it's to be held for the benefit of any heirs or lien holders for a
They
period
come
of 2
back
years.
in 2 years and ask for it. I mean, to me, you know where they are, you know their addresses. I think the treasurer should notify them that it sold for more than what you owed, and that money should go back to those heirs.
We do notify them, but it's up to them to come and ask the court for it.
Read this if you want. I'm not wrong.
That's just my question, is why we don't notify these people. Because I'm sure they're not aware that they can come back and ask for that excess money.
Yeah, and we have a number of folks that do come in and ask for the excess money, which we're typically not involved with, but we do provide, if the court has questions about our research, we provide the court a copy of that
And
so they
actually,
can
that's
see
where
it.
that 27,000 comes from that we've been in discussion about, is the excess funds that was higher than what they owed for their property.
Yes, and
I just want the public to know that.
yes.
I just want to clarify something. On this, keep in mind, these are property owners that know they have property and they've chose not to pay taxes. So they have to know that what's going on with their property. I seen it with my mother-in-law's property. I got letters and it sold, and then there was a hiccup and it sold, we had to go through the process again, but they're notified. So if they choose not to get involved, because they chose not to get involved with paying their taxes, I'm sorry, I don't have much sympathy, because that meant some of these properties, 20 years, we did not have the revenue that we should have gotten to pay our bills. So it is what it is. I don't think we should have to pay postage to send them a notice saying, hey, there's $3,000 out there, after we went 20 years waiting for them to pay taxes of lost revenue either. It's sorry to see it happen. I had to watch it happen with my mother-in-law's place, but it was tied up in airship. And as it turned out, it was cheaper for me to go to the auction if I wanted to get it. I decided not to, but I mean, I would have ended up pay $3,000 or $4,000 taxes on it because it went 20 years without any taxes being paid. Now the other thing I want to address, previously to this, Miss Rakes came to us and indicated that she knew that they collected this excess, and she requested permission to give some of it back to her employees. Everyone on this board, as far as I remember, maybe
I voted for it.
we voted for it.
I did.
And part of what happened there was we found out that the county clerk of the court had a similar type situation. It's set up different, and they're doing the same thing. So that kind of froze things in motion, but now we keep regressing back to this, and I know these funds are, we've been told repeatedly, they're in the general fund. So it is what it is, and we approved that already. So there's no reason to go beyond that. But yeah, I wanted to answer to both those because I'm really not looking for us to spend another dime postage to go tell people, oh, by the way, we did sell your land, you're no longer the owner, and there was $1,000 here, because I look at it, we did not get a revenue for 20 plus years on some of these, and we don't, it's hard for me to be sympathetic to that. I know what my land is. I know when the tax bills come, I get mailed a letter with it, and I go pay it. And the bottom line is, we have to have revenue to provide a sheriff's department, to provide all these services. And things are gonna get real strange next year, because all these increases that you're seeing in the supermarket and the fuel and that, revenue isn't necessarily going up, just our costs. So all our fuel costs went up and all that, so it's a tough world. I'm done.
Anybody else?
I guess a lot of people would pay their taxes also if they had a veterans credit subtracted from their taxes. It's easy to pay them if you have a veterans credit attached to them.
Thank you, Mr. Rice.
Thank the board again.
Cheap shot.
I don't know why, just my own,
It
You're
is.
good at that.
I don't know why we keep coming back to the same
You said
thing.
cheap shot. I said, well, you're good at that too.
No, I'm not. I spoke for it.
All right, Mr. Beck. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
and
Good to see you.
Supervisors of Dickinson County. I'm Brian Beck. I'm the CEO for the last year for Appalachian Agency for Senior Citizens. I've met most of you in the past 12 years in my capacity as the CFO at Appalachian Agency. So I've been coming to meetings like this for a long time with you all. I did want to share a little bit of current information because we did ask for modest increases, and we have not done that in the past 10 years. And you just relayed that cost of doing business, minimum wage, those types of things have gone up. We do provide 3 public routes serving Dickinson County with 4 county transit. We also provide the 2 college routes, one that starts here and ends at Southwest Community College, and the other one starts at Hayside and ends at UVA Wise and Mountain Empire Community College, and those have return routes as well. Ran some numbers at our office, and last year we served 20,681 home-delivered meals to 90 Dickinson County
that in here?
residents. What's that?
What you're saying, is that in here?
That is not in the budget, but I wanted to provide you some additional detail to correlate to that budget information.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yes, 90 individual Dickinson County residents, and you're not going to see us. We're just in our forerunners delivering up into every home individually. And the cost of those 20,000 meals is $157,175. We have 41 different residents that attend either our Clinchco or Clintwood congregate nutrition site. Those folks attend 2 days a week. We also take them to all of the county fairs, Tazewell, Russell, and Dickinson, as well as Triad in Tazewell County and our Spring Fling in May. They will come over next month for events at our office in Cedar Bluff, including a health fair. Let's see here. We do have, looks like we purchased about $85,000 in gas in Dickinson County alone. And we have, while we request the capital match for buses, the past 4 years we have not asked for that. We've asked for it in the budget, but we have not requested to draw down those funds from you all. We've been getting COVID funds, and we've been getting 100% match from Federal Transit Authority and Department of Rail and Public Transit. We do want to leave those line items in the budget so we can continue to refresh our buses and have a nice, new, easy-to-maintain fleet. But I will tell you that the cost of those buses in the past couple of years has gone from 60 to 80 to about 130,000 in the last 5 years. While they are equipped with 6 cameras, lights, all kinds of features, the cost of doing business is what we are asking for modest increases. And one last thing, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. We do have 18 current employees, 7 full-time and 11 part-time, with residences in Dickinson County, paying over $550,000 in wages to those employees. And the last highlight is while we are expanding, we're serving more counties with some of our programs, Bland Smith with Washington and City of Bristol with some of our services. We have made it a focus here recently, and we have done a complete refresh of our Hayside facility, new paint, lights, and flooring. And I do have invitations for all of you. We're going to do a May 17th kind of open house, grand reopening, because all of that was just completed in the last couple of weeks. We're trying to get the word out. We've met with DSS over here, myself included, and other staff in the past month, seeking referrals for additional clients. You know how challenging we want to serve all the seniors we can. We are also challenged with hiring the staff to support that. But I'm here to answer any questions you may have about my budget request. Again, it was a modest increase, and there has not been a requested increase in the past 10 years. I'm the CFO, and I've submitted basically the same form 10 years in a row. So I did work with our 4-county transit director and wanted to make a change. Like I said, I went from 5,000 to 6,000 on the home delivered meals, but we delivered $157,000 in meals in Dickinson County alone last year. So,
Does the appropriations from the localities, does that just go into your general budget, your operating budget, or are there specifics? Like, for instance, if we give you 40,000, does that go into a different Dickinson County account, or is that just commingled with your other monies?
The club funds that you all support, the Three Ridges, the Hayside Golden Friends, and the Breaks, those are funds that we are just a pass-through entity so that they can use the 501c3 that we have, so that you all don't have to worry about those funds are audited by our audit firm.
But do you see what I'm saying?
The 4-county transit funds, no, I mean, it's commingled and it's all used to draw down.
So each jurisdiction gives you an appropriation, then your board votes on how to spend the money So Dickinson County might not get $40,000 worth of the money necessarily. I mean, is that fair to say?
It is, when we make the request on the capital, it's 1% per county. The buses are allocated and they're rotated. I mean, they all come to our location for service through a rotating, so you're getting the new buses as quickly as anybody else. But as far as appropriating funds specifically, they are used to draw down the $3 million that we get from transit to operate public transit for all four service, all of PSA 2. Same thing with our nutrition programs. That's why I'm trying to, again, show you some return on what you are allowing. 90 clients in Dickinson County, I can tell you it was less than 500 served, so you're looking at just under 20%. Dickinson County is roughly just under 20% of the PSA 2 and per capita. So, I mean, we do try to allocate services and as justly as we can, but we are one organization serving all of PSA 2.
Yes, sir. I just was trying to get a glimpse into your, how you divvy up the funds. Go ahead, Ms. Love.
Yes. I've sat on that board for a couple of years, maybe. I've met you.
Yes.
I've been to the facility, and I was stunned by your facility. Then I go to the facilities at Clintwood and Clinchco, and I'm stunned. At your facility, you had 2 huge buildings that I'm estimating, I'm no contractor, but you had a nurse practitioner, clinic, fully staffed clinic, nurse practitioner, and all I heard talked about was this Falls Branch. Is that
Falls Mills, near
Falls Mills.
Bluefield.
You built a new building for Falls Mills?
Yes, we did receive.
Well, for some reason, Brian, and then I looked over and you had a trailer court. I thought, I was just stunned by all I saw. And I'm stunned by what I see that we get. And it seems to me that Russell County and Tazewell County are getting the biggest bulk of the money and the most services. We're the poorest. Buchanan County's poorest. I am not a CFO, I'm not a CPA, but I was, and every time I tried to ask a question, I think the lady has retired.
Regina Sayers was the former executive director, and she's stayed on to support the CEO.
It was
or
an
COO.
evasive answer. I didn't get a clear answer to it. And it was stunning to me to see how much money and property that you have in Russell County and Tazewell County. And you know, where are you from, Brian?
Hohenacre.
Okay. You know as well as myself that we can't get over, our people can't go to Tazewell County or to the college when they're sick or whatever. You say you serve 90 individual people, is that right?
For just on the home delivered meals.
Why is it that?
Meals.
Just
Yeah.
for Meals on Wheels is what
Okay.
you're.
All right.
You-
I don't know if you speak for the buses too?
Yes.
Okay. Before I came to this meeting, I stopped and saw the bus pulled beside the road, nobody in it. Person was in the bathroom. They stayed in there for quite some time. I worked at the health department for 34 years. I saw your buses come and turn there. I'm not saying you don't help people, you do. And like Josh has mentioned before, he was able to go to college by riding the bus. But I don't think it don't look to me to be, it does not look to be found. We are not getting, this program I think was for people who are, don't get what, they need help. And you know, our senior citizens need help with meals and so forth. You don't keep but 2 days in Clintwood, 2 days in Clinchco. And both of those buildings are in very dire need of repairs. Can you explain to me how you all were living in a palace and we're living in a chicken coop?
All of our congregate nutrition sites, none of them, well, I won't say none of them. We did put one in at the Falls Mills facility when that was built. Prior to that, it operated in low-income housing in Pocahontas. We did have a building donated to us in Richlands we paid $65,000 for a $200,000 building in Richlands. Prior to that, we operated in low-income housing in Richlands. All of the rest of our sites, our Grundy site, our Clinchco site, our Clintwood site, these are all our Tazewell site. We do not have a site in Lebanon. Our Swords Creek site, they're all donated space by the counties. Or we have a lease agreement at a fixed cost. We don't own those facilities. We would happily, we thought we were going to be forced out of the Clinchco site, and we were going to have to look for due to the Corps of Engineers. Don't know if that's going to happen, but we thought that building was going to be taken from us. We want something more efficient than that. That's a huge building, and we are the only ones that pay the heat and electricity. We share it with the Lions Club. We share it with I think the voting group that is in there. We share it with everybody. We pay all of the bills, all the electricity in that facility, and with support from Dickinson County. But we're responsible to keep the lights on at that facility so that we can operate it 2 days a week. 2 days a week is all we do at any of our nutrition sites, including the Falls Mills facility. As I stated, Lebanon does not have a facility. Honaker does not have a facility. We operate one in Daint. They cannot pass health inspection. They also cannot receive meals under the Department of Health guidelines, so they heat frozen meals. And that's the only solution we can offer to that group. So, I mean, as far as...
Is that in West Daint, at the community center?
It's at the community center.
Okay.
And our best solution is a horrible one, and that is we bring that group together, but we feed them, we heat up frozen meals for them, because there is not a solution that can pass the health department inspection to get meals to them. So, I mean...
Why can't they pass the health department? They got public sewer there, they got public water.
3-compartment sink, able to heat the meals, somebody to cater them. The health department is challenging.
I've been there and they used to bring, each one of them brought stuff. And I knew they do at Brushy, they bring, each individual brings a meal.
See, those are your clubs. We're a pass-through entity for the clubs. The clubs do what they want. They really do. Russell County operates like 7 different clubs. You all choose to operate 3. Tazewell supports 0 clubs. I mean, there is
They
equity.
don't need to. The buildings are in Tazewell.
No,
They're right outside Tazewell.
The Clinchco site and the Clintwood site are far superior to the Tazewell school from the 1940s with no accessibility, no accessible bathroom.
You're telling me that you got a site in Tazewell that has no...
It's not even accessible to
Where's it
seniors.
at in Tazewell? Is it in the
It's
town?
right next to the 911 center. It's the old middle school. We don't have the
Well,
ability.
it's not the building that I saw over there in Tazewell County?
You're talking about our main
Your main
location,
office,
our main
yes.
office. Yes, we
It's
do.
in Tazewell County.
Yes, we don't, and we do serve clients there, but it is not a nutrition site. That's our PACE location. We do this
You feed people that come there.
We do, and we feed people at
And you
Hayside.
also offer them medical services.
And we offer, 90% of those services are offered at our Hayside facility too. We cannot, our nurse practitioner, our nurses, we have a nurse and an LPN and a master's level social worker at that facility in Hayside 4 days a week at least.
Well, that's your best facility is the one at Hayside, because that's where you served your meals to Clinchco and Clintwood.
We do cook for
Yes, you
Clinchco and
cook for
Clintwood out of that
Clinchco.
location. We do.
And that is your best facility. I'm surprised you're having to renovate it, because when I inspected it last, it was in perfect condition. It looked great. It's right beside Stone Mountain.
It is. It is.
So, my question to you, Brian, is that I would like to see some figures on proportion of the money that we get compared to, I know they have more people than we do, Tazewell and Russell County do. But, you know, I'm sort of just, and I'll hush, but it just sort of, I don't want to use that word, but it disturbs me that I go over there and see all that.
You're asking fair questions, Ms. Leslie.
And I
appreciate you. Yes, I appreciate
grant.
this. This is an opportunity for us to tell you what all we're doing.
Which I know
The
what Falls Branch
services
is.
that Dickinson, Russell, Tazewell, and Buchanan County provide support to are operational services supported by Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services through the Older Americans Act and Department of Rail and Public Transit. The services provided at Hayside, at our Cedar Bluff location, most of our Falls Mills location, our Marion location, and soon to be our Bristol location, you're not providing $1 of support to any of those services. You're not supporting any of our child daycare. You're not supporting any of our trailer
Well,
court.
that's another thing, y'all
our
have
senior
child
community.
daycare there too.
We have all that, and you support the not $1 into any of those services.
Who supports it then?
They are self-sustaining. We are operationally
Why do you have a
cash
trailer
flow
court there?
positive.
Who lives in these trailers?
We are making it a senior community. We're trying to
Are
transition
you
it from a trailer
reimbursed
park
with
to a senior.
HUD or whatever?
We
They're all
don't, we
trailers.
don't currently receive any HUD funding.
So who lives in these trailers?
Right now, it's a hybrid makeup. We own about 12 of them. We've purchased that because we've been positive cash flow in that. We purchased it at a net zero. We covered the facility as we purchased it for 10 years, and then after that, we've been using it to reinvest in our services. We do have a business mentality, and we do operate those DARS funding, but what we request from the 4-county service area does not support those services that you see in our buildings. That is our PACE program. That is our program for all-inclusive care for the elderly. It supports about 100 clients in the service area here and about 30 in the new service area, Bland Smith with Washington and Bristol. And that is a social medical model. It is provided at Hayside, and it is provided at that Falls Mills location. We did notice, we did have clients that didn't want to attend that Hayside facility, so we did do a refresh. New flooring, new lighting, wasn't passing the building inspection. But the investment made for capital from Dickinson County to support any of that activity is $0.
Oh, hush.
Do you know how much is your lease like for the Clintwood location? Do you know?
I think that's a $0 lease. We're responsible for all of the upkeep. The problem being we operated 8 days a month, and it's a large building with large utilities. Like I said, I think the Lions Club uses it a day or two. I believe
so.
the Democratic or
You might be the Clinchco.
That's Clinchco.
Yeah, but not.
oh, I'm
the
sorry,
Yeah.
the Clintwood. That is an all-inclusive, and I want to say that's like $600 or $650, and that
I'm
includes
just
sewer,
curious. I
water.
didn't expect you to know for sure off the top. Of your
It is. I was a CFO for 10 years. I do believe it was $550 or $600, and that includes the rent and sewer and water, I believe, for that location.
Do you
Town
have
of Clintwood.
And they were
three?
constantly requesting a larger facility.
I know.
Yeah. So I mean, but we appreciate the opportunity to operate. That's a low cost. Our Tazewell facility, absolutely hate it. It's $2,000 a month just to heat it in the winter, and we can't get our seniors in and out of the building.
So we have 3 locations or 4 in Dickinson County.
Clinchco, Clintwood, and
You said breaks.
no, again, those are clubs. Breaks, Hayside Golden Friends, and Three Ridges are clubs. Those, I think you fund like $1,700 a year towards those. We are just a pass-through. They give us receipts for their outings, their meals. We provide the meals through Older Americans Act funding at our Clinchco and Clintwood site. Those are the ones we provide meals for, and we're paying for those through state and federal funds.
I'm just, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot with specifics numbers. I'm just trying to get an idea of, I mean, basically all these questions you've been asked are, what are we getting for our money? I mean, right? I mean, So you have, I mean, what employees come, for instance, to the Clintwood facility? I mean, you have the driver, of course.
The driver, a site manager.
So you actually have an employee? Or do
Yes. We have to do reporting for the
Okay.
for the older
So they'll
Americans
do like
Act.
a team
So
that's
that increases the cost of doing business for
Yeah.
us. And like I said, it is the site manager at that site and Clintwood and Clinchco. I'm sorry, and
But you
then
got Clintwood, Clinchco, Hayside, and Dane? Is it Dane?
It's West Dane
West
Community
Dane.
Center, they
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
program.
Right there on that curve.
They have one at Brushy Ridge Community Center. I don't know if you.
that's a club.
It's a club, okay.
That's a club. Now you all support that, but we're just a pass through.
Okay.
We audit the funds so you don't have to.
Yeah. I knew they got funds
I don't
through
have
you, but I
anything
didn't
else.
know.
Thank
I
you for coming
appreciate you
over.
all very much.
Thank you, Brian.
I do have
Ms. Kaiser, do you have something?
No, other than, with what they contribute to the Clintwood and Clinchco senior, citizens beyond, having the employee or what, as, Rita Counts and Diane Hall that's down there. Do you all actually put any money into those programs that they do, or is all of theirs fundraising? Or if each one of these directors takes their club members out somewhere, you all reimburse them for that food? Or do they need to be raising money or doing something to raise money to do more for their clubs?
They have periodic outings. They'll make it over to Bonanza or somewhere, and typically.
Well, they love
like-
it too.
What's
They
that?
tell me
They
they
love
don't.
going.
I know they do, and they do that periodically. And like I said, we will bring the Clintwood and Clinchco site are coming to our office on May 20th. They will go to the Tazewell County Fair this summer. They'll go to the Russell County Fair. We'll
Well, those-
also take them to our senior prom, which we'll do.
On those food outings?
Yes, you're supporting it indirectly, but the cost of
Like
40
the-
clients, 2 days a week, you're looking at about 4,000 meals prepared annually at.
But I mean,
for
if they
those
go to
sites.
Bonanza, you all don't pay for that
Yes,
though.
yes.
Well, they're always
I
asking,
get- They're always asking me for money.
Yeah.
I give them $500 to go to.
I just give them a check too.
Did you?
For the site, if, like I said, it's like one day every other month, and I'd have to have our nutrition director, because we can't do it all the time.
Well, that's what I mean,
Logistically, but when we take them in our bus and we arrange it, and one of their 2 site days is eliminated, and we round them up.
So
and
maybe
take
the
them to
club is
Bonanza.
doing this, that they're
Again,
asking money for.
we're
then.
confusing clubs
Okay,
and
well, that's
and
part of the
uh,
confusion.
the clubs are not supported by Older
Know what I'm
Americans
saying?
Act funding.
Oh, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I really,
I need.
I heard something, I wanna make sure I understand the differences. So you pay rent to Clintwood for where you're at there.
Right.
Why is it different in Clinchco, or is it different?
Somebody decided that, I
Because
mean, these
Clinchco-
leases have been in place for a long
The county owns the
time.
Clinchco building.
Town hall. Is
County
that-
owns the
That's what I'm
Clinchco.
saying, that's the difference.
Clintwood, the county of Clintwood owns the Clintwood building.
Well, I understand.
I'd
but
rather pay $600 a month than
Why are
what
we
it
not
costs to heat and
charging?
cool that
Yeah.
building at
It's a revenue.
Clinchco. I mean, the fixed cost that we have negotiated and been able to work with you all.
Well, I wanted to.
Clintwood. There are different agreements at every location. Some are no
I
cost
understand,
leases,
and-
and some we pay all the utilities, and the utilities we come out behind by far.
No, I understand that, and I believe that. And
But we're only open 8
the
days.
reason I'm asking this question is because this is a budget crunch year for us.
I understand.
And then I look at these differences, and then I have to ask the question, maybe we're not doing everything we should be doing. You know, but I
If
also,
there is another location that you all would want to present, like I said, we thought we were gonna be forced in the next couple of years out of Clinchco.
well, we'll have to see what happens. with
Right,
that.
and Clintwood's constantly asking for a larger site, so if you have a suggestion, be happy to work with
Yeah.
you all.
Hard to find,
I
right?
Yeah, it
understand,
is,
I
it is.
understand. If you have any other,
Nope, I'm-
No, sir, thank you,
thank you all very much, appreciate you.
thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
And
Thank you.
invitations to our event on
Ms. Willis, are the folks here that you
May
wanted to,
17th.
Shelley.
are the people
No,
here?
they're not here.
So we'll just skip item
They-
7. Do you want to make an announcement?
Yeah, I
Okay.
do.
All right, that brings us to item 7 on the agenda. I will turn the floor over to Ms. Willis.
I had 4 people. Caney Ridge is 12 miles long from Wise County line to 4-way. intersection. It's 12 miles. I have 4 people, which was Benny Kennedy, his wife Zeldra Kennedy, and also Ronnie Rose and Karen Rose. They picked up 12 miles. I actually think they started at Pine Grove, which is within just a few feet of the Wise County line. And they picked up, I don't know, they didn't count their bags. They had so many they couldn't pick them up. But they did the 12-mile pickup, and I asked them to come tonight to recognize them, but they did it as just a community thing. They didn't want to come and be recognized, but I will take them their certificate. But they did a tremendous job of picking up trash for 12 miles.
It's a hard
Very
job.
good. And while we're on that, if that's okay with you, Miss Willis,
It is.
Mr. Barton, yeah, you all had a good turnout Friday at the breaks.
We did, at Breaks Park Road, they were able to clean up all the way to the Breaks entrance from, right at the town limits at Superior, all the way down. Got quite a bit picked up, so it looks a lot better down that way.
And that's, go ahead.
Also, Benny helped pick up the first time y'all picked up.
He did.
And I don't know if he did the second time or not, but he did the first
He
time.
did the first time, he sure
Yes.
did.
He picked up that time also.
Larry's, that's kind of been his idea, the first Friday of the month, and he gets his boots on and work clothes on and goes and does it just with everybody else, on top of being in a budget cycle and on top of running a business on your own and on top of all of the 5 people here driving you crazy every minute. So I really appreciate you doing that, Larry,
Glad to help.
too. And I appreciate the individuals Miss Willis mentioned as well. So, all right, that brings us to item 8. Mr. Stanley's been waiting patiently. Jack, your time is up now, and I appreciate you waiting and being so patient.
He just got back from Florida. He's okay.
I know he's tan. I see he's got the tannest ankles I've ever seen.
My tan is going away. I've been back 9 days and I've had long sleeve and long pants on since I got back. But anyway, thank you. My name's Jack Stanley, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My reason for being here today is informative and to request your support for representing the county at the IBMA, which is International Bluegrass Music Association, which is a convention that's to be held September 26th to the 30th in Raleigh, North Carolina. As a member of the Dickinson County Tourism Committee, I have gone, my wife goes with me always, with Rita Surratt, who is the DMO, the Destination Marketing Organization Supervisor here in Dickinson County, the Tourism Director, or represented with her help for, I think, 5 years. 1 year they've been having it. And of course, COVID year, they didn't have it.
Yes.
And nobody went that year. The IBMA is geared toward musical tourism. And of course, you know, I always lead with the Ralph Stanley Museum. I don't just promote the Ralph Stanley Museum only, but everybody in the bluegrass world knows who Ralph Stanley is. I was in Tarpon Springs, Florida, just a little bit before I came back at a bluegrass show and talking to these people, and they asked me where I was from, and I said, "You ever heard of Ralph Stanley?" And the guy said, "Anybody in bluegrass music doesn't know Ralph Stanley, doesn't know anything about bluegrass music." So I always lead that we're the home of Ralph Stanley, and the Heels of Home Festival, which is held always at Memorial Day, and I always lead with that. And then I mention the Ralph Stanley Museum, and a lot of people I've met down there have been to this museum and know where we're at. People are drawn to these activities and then ask whatever else is available, and there's where I come in with all these other activities we have to support, which is the Breaks Park. I mentioned the Breaks Park. I don't, as sort of an afterthought, but I do get them in there. The J.D. Baker Center, of course, the Ralph Stanley Museum. Then I touch on our campgrounds, the Thunder River campground with Mr. Dean Hill. He also has electric hardwoods, which they make wood or cut wood, and it's a special type of cut and special wood for musical instruments. And he sells to a lot of people. Last year he gave me a mandolin kit to, and I sort of raffle it off and to a Luther. I think the guy was in Montana who actually won it. He's going to make a mantle out of it. The Pine Mountain Trail Riders, I always mention them. People like horseback riding. Dickinson County Fair, I bring that up since we've got started on it. Real good. The Flanagan Reservoir, talk about the whitewater release, the rafting and all the fishing and all that kind of stuff. And I talk about the Spearhead Trails that is in Hayside, at the Ridgeview Trails and for everything. And the Autumn Fest down there in Hayside and other local events with the information available through the tourism office. I always hand out brochures and point out the tourism office. Touch on Birch Knob. We had an interest, a big interest. We were interested in promoting the archery and shooting range, but I talked to the director last year and didn't get anything from her at the time, so that went nowhere. But I did tell them it was available. This is a major opportunity to promote our county as the event draws about 200,000 people over 4 days. In the convention hall, we have a booth provided by Virginia Tourism in an area designated only to Southwest Virginia counties, and specifically primarily those along the Crooked Road and Appalachian Backroads designation. So, we have a room, it's about twice the size of this right here, and they have it marked off Virginia Tourism, and everybody has a spot in it. And we actually help one another as the meetings draw to an end and everything, and people will come and say, well, let me have some of your brochures, and I'll designate them to them. Last year, we ran out of a lot of our brochures. I feel like this is a major opportunity to promote our county as the event draws about 200,000 people over 4 days. In the convention hall, like I said, we have that booth. And last year, the count that we spoke personally to there were 16,000 people came to the trade show. And I don't know how many of them we spoke to, but there was a whole lot of them passed our booth. So it ran out of many brochures. Our county tourism office could never afford an event of this magnitude. I personally have met people in other states after the event, and foreign countries really, that noticed the Virginia or Dickinson County logo and mentioned meeting us in Raleigh. These days are very labor intense, and boy, I'm telling you, it is labor intense, but are great for the value and the time involved. I would like your support and welcome any materials or promotional items for events or places of interest that any one of you can come up with that we'll take with us. We have much to offer, and this is a wonderful venue to promote as many as the public come to us rather than us traveling to many states and counties to introduce Dickinson County. Well, that's my prepared statement. I'll take questions if you have any.
I just
I
got
don't have
a,
any. You
I don't
all
have
do a
any.
great
You do a
job.
great job.
Do a
I
great
just got a
job.
comment.
Yep.
Don't give up on the trails.
On the shooting range, you was talking about the shooting range.
Yeah, the shooting range. They changed leadership, so.
Yes, I know that,
Yeah,
but
so I just wanted to mention that.
But
Brenda, didn't you mention something to me about,
Yeah, I was gonna tell y'all something else we do. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Ron had mentioned one time he saw a video of me doing the ATV trails. Well, when we were in Raleigh, we did a lot of videos. We promoted the ATV trails, hiking trails, Breaks Park. We did live videos, and they went everywhere. So that's one thing we did. Jack was even on TV, was it last year?
year before last.
Yeah, so did a thing, but we get people actually from this area that come down there during this thing because it is huge. And like he said, we could never, with my budget, I could never pay that booth. And we fix it up so nice. We have everything. We take our pull-up banners, we just fix it up really nice. We take brochures, we do gifts, and I mean, it's really something we're proud to be down there promoting Dickinson County. And y'all know me and how I love to promote this county in a positive way. So anyway, so that video you saw, Ron, I kept thinking that's probably
Yeah,
the
you're
thing
right.
we did down there because, and that's the thing we do every year when we go. I didn't get to go last year, but I hope to go this year. And, did you get insurance on that?
Yeah, this is one of the, of course, everybody has that. We have these in the, she has these in the tourism office, got I handed out a whole bunch of these last year,
Yeah.
like I said, and it's got the history and all that kind of stuff,
But
some of the things
I
we
actually
do.
did these as placemats for the restaurants, because at Hayside, when they had all the people coming for
Yeah.
the ATV trails, I had these placemats for them to use in the restaurant, so people could sit there and see what all they could do, you know, when they found it.
Do you play and sing for them, or Jack?
I do, Virginia toured for the last 3 years. They've set up a stage and they're gonna do it this year.
think
And,
it's wonderful.
and I get up and play a little bit, and me and, John Kilgore from Gate City, he and I did a little show last year, and I've done it myself a time or two, and we'll continue to do so as long as I'm able, as long as you all support me in going.
And they've got him in charge of the sound, I think. this year,
Yeah,
too.
we're gonna have a sound system this
We
year
gotta have a
again,
new
and,
sound
Becky wants
system.
me to.
Becky Nave.
Becky
y'all
Nave
get
wants
her.
me to help them out with that. I just do everything, and Bernadine and Rita, they take care of everything.
But I tell you, I could not have made it without Jack and Bernadine all these years, and it's been 5 years, but I mean, it's a lot of work. We carry in stuff, and I stayed at a hotel, I had to walk a mile a day to the event. You should have seen us packing up and us walking down the streets carrying all the stuff. We had to walk about half a mile to the
Yes.
car. And we were just like carrying the banners and carrying everything. I thought, if people just see us now, they know how hard we're working here. But anyway, we appreciate y'all,
Yeah.
everything y'all do. Y'all been so supportive to us in tourism, this board and Larry, all of you.
Great job.
And you know, we love Dickinson County, obviously. We love promoting Dickinson County, and I just hope that you give us your support to do this event.
I don't have, Ms. Kaiser, you have anything?
No, I don't think so, other than, Rita, what is the estimated amount of money that, it takes to go to this?
Well, I should have, if Mr. Martin would agree to it, I have enough in my travel budget right now that I could go ahead and reserve 2 rooms for us for 5 nights, and then I should have access in that, because I haven't traveled any place except Richmond for like a long time. And so then the next budget, we should have enough to buy the gas and food, and usually Virginia Tourism takes us out and buys us food 1 evening or 2 evenings.
Yes. Last year, I think, Ms. Kaiser, I think it was around $900 for Bernadine and myself to do. And I had a sponsor last year to sponsor my room. This year, I do not. So it's going to cost.
But I should
More,
have enough
but yeah.
that will work out. We could go ahead and reserve it, and then when the next budget comes around, we have enough for the gas mileage.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've already planned all that to figure it out.
All right. Thank you
Good,
so
everybody
much.
good? Thank you,
all.
guys.
Yeah, I'm
Great.
good with,
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to 8, that was
is
8A.
Dana going with them this year?
We
Yeah,
haven't
I
talked
think she
about
is.
it yet, so.
Oh, okay, I know, last year she wanted to go and then something come up, she
Right,
couldn't.
she got sick,
Yeah,
So we'll track along and somebody will, I'm sure I'll lose my role here. But 8B is Mr. Branham. Are you ready, Mr. Branham?
I'm ready.
Yes, sir. You got the floor.
I'm here bagging this evening.
Mr. Branham's on the, you're on the,
I know all, huh?
you're on the town council in Clinchco, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
you have to state your name for Teresa.
My name is Herbert Branham. I live at 15081 Dickinson Highway, Clinchco, Virginia. I'm here to ask for a little money, if I can get it, for the swinging bridge. I moved back here from Michigan in 1993, and I have floored that bridge 6 times since I've been back. And I believe I should have some help, because I think I'm the only swinging bridge in Dixon County. We did have one down between my Clinchco and Hayside, or at what you call the old Chevrolet garage. That one is tore down now. So it costs me a lot of money to floor that bridge. I have to floor it about every 6 years, from 6 to 7 years. I've got to floor it, and this year it's going to cost more to floor it than it ever has, because I didn't floor it when we had the, COVID and all that went out.
the bridge was still pretty good, but it's getting bad now. And I have a lot of people coming down Crooked Road that stops and wants to walk that swinging bridge. I've even had kids from Clintwood High School want to come and have pictures stuck on it when they graduate. And I have a lot of people coming, so that's the reason why I'm here. I don't want to, take your time up, but I would appreciate it if I could get some kind of help. And it's going to cost this year. I've already went and checked it out with Joy over here at Clintwood Lumber. Me and him was already went. I've told him what that I have done for the bridge and how it was to be fixed. And it's going to cost about $2,400 to fix it out decking, just like you'd make a deck. But if you use composed lumber, it's going to cost about $4,400. That's a lot of money, especially this time, the way the time's going now. But I'd appreciate anything I could get to help me with that. I can do all the work. Me and my son and my brother will do all the work. To get it done if things goes the way we hope it will go. So, but that's why I'm here. That's about.
Paulie, whose property is it on?
Well, it's on my property from one side of it to the other side. It belongs to the supervisor. My understanding.
Belongs to a supervisor or
belongs to the state highway.
Well, but you own some of that out.
Yes, I do. I own.
So where the bridge comes across, you own that right there.
Yes, I do.
You do, and so it's on private property.
Right.
There is another one down on Murphy, I'll let you know, that the county, back in the day when we gave everything, the county used to maintain these.
Well, they did.
There's one on Pound River that was washed away. I don't know. I think they were trying to redo it again.
That's the difficulty in this, because it's, and I would caution you, because if it's on your property, if something happens, liability will fall on you.
I've already took care of that. As they say, as long as I put a no trespassing sign on it, on the other side, that'll take care of it. I put no trespassing, but I also put below that, travel at your own risk. And they say that I'm clear.
What would be the legalities of a potential appropriation in this scenario?
Legally, you cannot appropriate for private property, for private bridge, for private access if there's no trespassing signs up. I don't know I know that there's no law provision that would permit that under that scenario.
And it could potentially, because there's at least two other ones that the other two are in bad repair because you've kept up yours. But, it's.
That if it was a county-owned bridge or
Yes.
we had, some sort of lease on it or something like that would be a different discussion. But it's private property.
But I think primarily this is because you have a hard time accessing when the flood waters are up because you got a low water bridge.
That's the only way I've got out and in.
I know,
If the water gets
and
over the
that's
bridge,
why-
I have no other way out and in. I've got, wait till the water goes down from my other bridge. Out of my car, where I take the car back and forth across.
Are there more houses?
What?
Is there more houses?
No, it's
It's
just
only
it.
one house.
Rita, do you know of any sort of grants for this?
Ruby
kind of
knows,
thing?
Ruby knows right where I live.
For a
She's-
private person?
No, but we're having a meeting here, Thursday evening, and we're having a lot of people come from different organizations that have resources available, so you might wanna come to that meeting Thursday evening here, and maybe they might have some ideas for you.
So if it's private property, we can't use public money for it, is what our attorney said.
Now, what we
I don't know of any
do,
loophole, unless we were to lease it or something.
and this is where your situation's a little different, Polly, but I have a low water bridge that I typically have to take discretionary money to help. But the only way I can do that is there's 3 homes with families in them. And
Yeah,
that's
I'm
where
not
the
offended.
supervisors are restricted
Lives
too.
over on that side
Yeah,
from where the, make connections to it.
yeah.
I have to keep my own, bridge up out there where, where the bringing cars across, so.
Yeah. You really have to keep this one up too, because
Well, yeah.
sometimes that's your only way.
That's the only way in and out for
Yeah.
me. If we have bad, if a storm comes and puts water over the bridge, I've been over there 6 and 7 days without even getting out. Just coming, if you don't take your vehicle across the road before
Yeah.
it rains, you're in trouble, so.
Yeah, maybe Rita, we can get our heads together on some, I don't know. I appreciate you coming out though.
Six
I
o'clock.
appreciate
Friday,
anything
so
you can find out that I can do.
6 o'clock Thursday.
Will you tell him, Rita, when that is? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon.
You're welcome.
All right, so that brings us to C now, which is the Bearpin Pool / behavioral health appropriation. Larry, and I know we're putting you on the spot a little bit, and I know that we discussed this in our, budget workshop, but what? And then maybe Ron can explain it better to me. I need to know in kindergarten plain terms what that waiver means exactly. I know that we are reducing our local appropriation to them by the 200,000, whatever it is. But you're saying that they can apply
in their
through
statute.
Commonwealth fund. I need to know in plain terms how that works and what that means, because you've seen the email that their 60-some employees have gotten.
Right.
So I want to be able to have assurance that $250,000 is going to be made up somewhere,
Well, the $250,000 will not. be made up.
approximately without.
Right, it will not be made up. How that works is the
Well,
state
tell me
gives
what
90
is happening
Just
then,
in plain
because
terms.
I misunderstood.
The state funding, the state gives 90%, we give 10%.
Yeah.
That's how they get the 100% of, the state match. We have to pay 10% match to get the 90% from the state. What Mr. Peters had brought up after speaking to some other counties, that there is a waiver process. If the county can't afford to pay their 10%, then behavioral health can apply for a waiver. And that will still allow them to get their 90% from the state without cutting that, because basically, in
They'll still
simplistic
get the
numbers,
same
if,
amount from the state. And here's the thing, in previous years, and I can tell you it was really ugly in 2016 when Alpha went bankrupt, we've always given the match. And, that was, and even now, we're in a budget crunch. So we have to look at what we can afford and can't afford. Now, what I was alarmed to find out, and I want to paint the picture here. In Clintwood here, $600,000 of buildings been bought by behavioral health. And they paid cash outright. They got $2 million in the bank in a CD, and I've been in another committee I'm on. He boasted he's got $3 million in the bank. And I'm sitting here thinking, we're struggling, and there's this waiver process, and I find out that our neighbors, Buchanan, Tazewell, and Russell are all in a combined CSB, and as a total, they're paying roughly $100,000, $50,000 Tazewell, the others are like $40,000, the other two. So if they got a waiver and we're having to pay $282,000, something's broke here, because we're a far smaller population, and we've got, we should be, and I would hope that our agencies and our other departments, constitutional offices, are doing their best by us to limit expenses and be good stewards of our money. And that's what this is about. Russell shared with me, they paid $40,000 for a match. Our population's 14,000, what's theirs, maybe 25,000?
But the thing on those, and I'm not arguing with you, anything you're saying, but the thing about those are, they have other counties putting in $40,000 or $50,000.
Yes, but.
So it's not just
But those
40,000.
other two counties are a lot bigger counties too, so they're taking care of more people.
So, this 200 and some thousand, is a match, a 10% match. So that equates to, what, $2 million that they are gonna get,
About 2 million plus that they're gonna get.
that they might not, I mean,
But if they're not approved
Mr.
for the
Peters
waiver,
is
they won't get
talking
it.
like it's automatic, and maybe it is. How do we know, though, that they're gonna get that 2 million? How do we know that? By
What do you
via the
mean?
waiver.
You mean they're funding from the state?
Yeah.
That's how the waiver works. We direct them to put in for it, and we have to wait and see what they say.
Well, what if they don't get it, is what I'm saying.
Then we're stuck. 'Cause
I know that.
you know what?
That's what's giving me
But what I'm
concern.
saying is, don't you think we should try to get a waiver? I mean, if our
Well, how do
neighbors
we,
are
will we
doing
know
it.
that before July 1st? Or before
Well,
we vote
I
on the
think we
June
need to
budget?
tell them right now to put in for a waiver,
See, I don't know all that.
you know?
It's all.
And I know we don't even voted on this
Because
yet.
no, I know, and that's what Russell explained to me. They voted on it and directed their behavioral health to put in for the
But
waiver.
the Commonwealth hasn't even formalized and finalized the budget though, right, Larry? I mean, we're still
Correct.
waiting on school
Yeah,
funding.
we're,
It's like
don't
right now, like
know?
late
but you
June,
wanna let
you know.
them look at the review and review this before that's finalized.
Well, I think we need to, I didn't see the correspondence that Larry sent from our last budget workshop. But I do think we need to do an addendum to say, please explore. You see what,
Right.
that it's not a final vote, we've not
Right, I
decided
explained
until
that.
June.
I just spoke to Mr. Mullins on the phone.
But it's
a
not,
couple
that's not
times.
the way it's being presented. Do you follow what I'm saying?
I follow what you're saying, yes, and
I want to clarify with them that we're asking to get an answer.
Well, I think that,
We just want to explore this.
I think though the process is we have to direct them to do it.
I can send an email out.
I would ask you to do
to
that.
him.
I mean, I don't, it's subject, we didn't vote at the workshop, we're not going to
But you're
vote
concerned
now.
about 1 July, and we've covered this the other day, and he's talked to me.
Well, I misunderstood a little bit.
We should be having them go do the work.
Well, I still agree with that,
Well, then we should get it
but
started.
here's the problem. Or at least here's what I would want to know before we vote in June on the budget, is can we know whether they get the waiver before we vote on our budget? Because if we vote on our budget and we do not fund this 10% match, then they're not just out the 10% match, they're out $2 million.
Well, I think we'll
They
know
can't
when
operate.
they'll get an answer, and
That's
then
what
we
I'm
can
saying.
adjust then. We're not
Well, we need to
we're not
know-
gonna run out and spend any money right
We
now.
need to know that answer.
Well,
No, you got the cart backwards. I think we need to go out and request the waiver.
No,
And that-
yes,
and that
I'm
means
we don't know
saying,
we
how
have
long
to
that
direct
take,
them
though.
I'm not saying to not request a waiver. I'm on board with you with that.
Well-
However, we can't approve our budget
I know, but.
without knowing.
And we may have to do like we did last year when the budget came back from the state so late. We may have
Well, there
last
were
minute
special
stuff.
caveats in we can do that then. I don't know if we can do that now.
Was that a special?
No, we had to, where the budget wasn't final, we had to do a July amendment because we
Yeah,
didn't have to.
that's
Well, I
all
know,
we do.
what, is the Commonwealth saying that
Yeah.
is the General Assembly giving us that same delay?
I heard today that it's gonna be late June before we hear
So,
anything.
okay, well,
on
Yeah,
that.
we just need to,
Well-
we should explore it because it's a way
I
for
would
us to
ask,
save
with
money.
the consensus of this board, that a modified correspondence be sent that says we want you to explore the waiver. However, no decision is final until we actually vote on the budget.
And I can send that
Does
out,
that make
copy the board
sense?
on it. can
I
do
don't
that.
think I think that's gonna just open the door that,
What's already open?
yeah, but we need to direct, that way we're,
What do you think, Peggy?
Well, no, this email you're talking about, explain that to me.
Well, you just have to read
Well,
it.
if they explore the waiver and they don't approve that waiver, then we have no discussion about what we're gonna give them.
Well, that's right.
We give them what the state says, so
But-
I can understand exploring that.
But this is a,
Because
but I think
the
we,
answer may come back that they don't approve that.
I think though, we have to tell them what we're gonna give. Right now.
It's not gonna be final until the budget's voted
and
on.
this is a
Yeah,
huge.
and it won't be finalized, but we need to tell them what we're looking at that they should pursue.
This is a huge, huge deal on two fronts.
But,
It's a huge deal to us because it's a significant amount of money, $250,000. It's a huge deal to them because it's $2 million. So I would just like a little more.
with 2 million in the bank, and they just bought $600,000 in buildings in the last 2 years.
Well, I'm
And
not-
they boasted another million in the bank. So
I'm not-
what I'm trying to tell you, what's shameful of this, and that's why I started out with the
I
Alpha
see it.
bankruptcy. Why did I have to bring this up? Why weren't they seeking best interest for our
Listen,
county and tell us this was available?
I'm not defining you on this.
But you understand what I'm saying.
I understand. Do you understand what I'm saying too, though? We can't, if we vote on our budget, and they may not know about the waiver till September or October, but I guess they have to have their budget in place by
Have
July
theirs in
1.
place.
Yeah,
do.
and if they pursue it now,
Well, that's
Well,
right.
theoretically, you'll have the numbers by then.
Hopefully.
That's what I'm saying. And that, for best interest of the county, we need to look at what we're trying to do here. And
What do you think?
we had to close $1.5 million
I'm
gap.
getting all kinds of emails from
Me
the
too.
BS.
Me too. Hey, Gab, did I cut you off? I'm sorry. Do you want to finish what you were saying?
Well, no, but I was just gonna get you to re-clarify to me, if we don't give them what the appropriations that the county is to give them, what they say is the match, they don't get anything from the state of that 2 million, and I think Mr. Mullins told us that the 2 million is set aside for so longer term operational in case they don't have money, just like we're supposed to have so much money set aside for
That's
operational.
what he said.
Wait, Peggy, to clarify that, if you heard what Mr. Barton said, they get the 2 million.
If the
They-
waiver's approved.
If the waiver's
If the
approved.
waiver's approved.
And that's
And
my
if it's
question.
not, then we'll have to pony up the money, I guess.
But that creates,
But
but he can't, Larry just can't magically come up $250,000. I mean, I think he
money in
needs
the
some
budget position
guidance
we're in
moving
right now.
forward.
yeah, but we're sitting here trying to save money, and yeah, if we have to, we have to, but you're, right now,
It's match money, right?
it's
It's
match
like-
money.
Yes,
Like,
ma'am.
like with the health department,
Correct.
they fund so much of the positions there and the county funds so much. If you cut their budget like we're proposing to do, then it affects other areas as well.
Unless the waiver is approved. They can't apply for a
Well, I
waiver
think
so that it retains
He
their
couldn't
state
tell
funding.
us how long it
Our
took to get a
piece
waiver.
is to direct them to go do the waiver,
Which
and
we're
then
still
we have to
doing.
see.
Nothing I'm saying tonight is saying to not do that. I just
Yes.
want some more specifics
And I can
on
send
the
an email.
law, when that happens,
Mm-hmm.
the statistics on it, the likelihood on it. That's all I'm asking for, and hopefully we can get that before our next budget workshop in a couple
May
of
10th,
weeks.
I think we can.
And if we can't, we can't. Certainly, I hope we might have a little more information on that. So that satisfies me on that. Anybody, Ms. Willis, do you have anything?
No, I don't have any questions.
Ms. Kaiser, anything else on that piece?
No, but I understand the need for clarification because we don't wanna sort of cut their throat either.
Well, that's
you know,
right.
But we're also upset here trying to figure everybody out and help us out.
But if they come back and they deny the waiver, then we have to regroup and do what we normally do.
be is what I want to know.
Yeah, that's all it is. You-
That's the big
You're never
question.
gonna know if you don't direct them to do it.
Maybe we could talk
I
to
mean,
some of
for
the counties
crying
that
out
have
loud, the
a
man
waiver
came to our
and
meeting
said,
and I remember you telling me, why don't you know there was old bylaws? And then he comes up and says, well, I didn't know we had bylaws either.
Cool.
Okay.
So wait. Well, I wanna make a motion.
Okay.
I make a motion that we send a letter directing him to do a waiver.
Well, I think he's already done.
50,000.
He's already done that.
What?
He's already done that.
Have
No,
you
I
done?
just, no, I just spoke to Mr. Mullins,
Yeah.
told him where we were.
Oh,
on the
okay. I thought
budget.
that was an email or something.
No, I just spoke with him, told him where we were after that meeting.
All right.
I think in our
well,
current
yeah.
budget situation, we need to.
But I can send a formal email and explain.
Yeah,
more. Like you-
But it
would
has
ask.
to come from a vote from this board.
Okay, well, let's clarify what we want in it though.
I make a motion that we direct them to go pursue the waiver. And
But
our
I
match will be 50,000. I think
my-
that's what we
You
talked
can make
about.
whatever motion you want, but
Yeah.
I would ask that you add in that no decision is final until we vote on the budget. And we would like what we've asked for, a specific, as much information as possible on the specific.
I'm good with that.
Process of the waiver application. I'd like to know that. Of when generally other behavioral health agencies get answers, if and when they are awarded. And that we are asking respectfully in this budget climate for them to explore that and get us that information as quickly as possible.
And we
before
set it at
vote in June.
50,000.
And that no decision
Is
is
our
final,
match.
and it's not, that doesn't need to be said, but I would ask that that be said
Yes.
until we vote in June.
Right.
Yep.
If I
Good
could,
idea,
before the
Cliff,
board,
man.
before the board proceeds with that, Mr. Mullins just sent me a message that said he could call in if he needed to
I don't-
discuss or clarify anything.
I don't, well, he might get that, but let's just go with what we got
Yeah.
and not get into a, I mean, if he wants to call, he
I got a
can.
motion,
Pleasure of the board, so.
I'll second the motion.
motion and a second.
Any other discussion?
Will you clarify the motion?
So, well, I'll let him clarify his own motion,
Okay.
then I'll clarify my understanding of the motion.
Well, you participated in
Well, I
that,
know.
I do it.
Well, you want me to
My
clarify?
motion is for $50,000 to set, and we have them pursue a waiver to $50,000 is our match. And that, nothing is final. If I say it out of turn, tell me. We'll see what comes back and we'll, go from there.
Right.
But
Right, as
keep in
it's
mind-
final until the process of the waivers are.
Keep in mind, we're saying we need their help here. And if we leave doors open, how hard are they gonna work for that?
That'll answer your questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure I completely understand the motion either. I mean,
So we're saying, now we haven't voted on the budget.
That's right.
Correct.
And if they don't get the waiver, we still have to come up with our 10% match.
We'll have to
Yes, ma'am.
revisit it then and come up with something.
And we don't know how long it would take them to get a waiver.
Well, that's what we're trying to find out.
Okay.
So here's what's happened. We had our budget workshop, and we discussed collectively as a board where we
Yeah, I
can
know.
save money.
Yeah, I know what we do.
And this idea was brought up, and Mr. Barton, out of consideration to other agencies, indicated to a very large agency, this is what our board's looking at, be prepared. He done the right thing. And so then he tells everybody that there may be, and he does the right thing. He prepares his organization for a potential budget cut. So now I think, given what I now understand that I didn't before our last budget workshop, we need to know, I want to know as quickly as possible how that waiver process works, and if it is possible that they will know the answer on whether they are approved for a waiver before we meet in June on our budget. And I want to know if that's possible, how likely it is, what the waiver process looks like, and that's it. That's what I want to know. And I think that's
And all I
reasonable.
can share
And I think
with you-
I think Larry done what we discussed, and I don't blame Mr. Mullins for preparing his agency for
I will
potential
add-
fiscal impacts, so.
I can add something else. In a previous meeting, we were told
Yes, it is.
Buchanan's budget's $20 million.
Well, I don't care about all that.
And
I just-
they're, no, but it's important because they're paying what, $40,000 match? They're a bigger county, so they get more from the state.
Yeah, but like you said,
And-
that's not apples to apples because they have Buchanan, Tazewell, and Russell.
But it's three big agencies and their budgets are significantly larger than ours. And they don't have to pay $280,000 match. I think.
you got a motion,
and
there's a
kind of the
second.
justification for this is our unemployment higher in Dickinson or is it higher in Russell County? Is it higher in Buchanan? Those are the kind of factors that are looked at on this.
Got a motion, a second. Any other questions on the motion? Ms. Kaiser?
No.
Ms. Wills, any questions
No.
before we vote? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So it's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Mr. Barton, was that clear enough?
It's clear, and I'll
Yeah,
go back and
okay.
make sure I've got everything correct. I'll send that out. Mr. Mullins
All right.
has already indicated he'll begin that process tomorrow on the
Thank you.
waiver, so.
Bear pen. pool.
Mayor Penn, you have an addendum or I handed out right before the meeting started from the Lane Group. We had, in your packet, we have a proposed contract for behavioral health on the operation of the pool, but I think there's some uncertainty right now with our budget on what they can do because as Mr. Mullins indicated, a lot of their funds that they would use to operate the pool would have to be reallocated to other programs for substance abuse in the county if these funds were reduced. So, but before the pool could even be opened, after the letter from the building inspector, I've been looking for an engineer to come in and do an analysis on the pool. And I've been working with the Lane Group, and they're looking at doing some ground penetrating sonic radar on the pool to go through and look for any voids underneath the pool because of the leak. Met with the gentleman on Monday morning down there. He went down and looked at the pool, took some pictures, and he sent a contract, which is before you, it's an hourly rate not to exceed $5,000. And the timeline is looking like probably the first week in May. So, if everything checked out well, we could still potentially get the pool open by Memorial Day weekend, or maybe a little after that. We may be running a little behind depending on how quickly we can get the water filled in with PSA, because when we run the water full stream, it takes pressure away from people that live at a higher elevation, so we have to kind of temper how much water we can put in at one time. But I just need your permission to execute this contract for not to exceed $5,000 to get the study done on the pool. Then from there, once the pool is operational, if behavioral health is not able to operate it, then we will have to try to advertise. So I guess two things. Number one, if I get permission to approve this contract, then after that, if we get permission to advertise for someone to run the pool, so we can begin that process, because that will be a process.
I'll make a motion, we approve it. We need to know.
I don't see how it affects their water. Well, you're gonna use water from the well, aren't you?
No,
Why not?
it's full of sulfur.
Sulfur?
Yeah.
I second the motion that we go ahead and try to figure this thing out. You're saying up to 5,000?
Up to 5,000, yes, ma'am.
All right, any other discussion or questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As well.
It's the pleasure of the board as well that I go ahead and advertise for contract out for someone to operate the pool.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
I think
I'll make
it's,
that motion, Mr. Martin.
I really hope that on this topic,
Do we need a motion to that effect?
what?
For
I don't
him
think you
to
do.
advertise?
No, I mean, I think he's got the
approve,
authority
yeah.
to, but you'll
And there are
have to
I
procurement
have to approve
policies.
whenever I get somebody, I'll
Yeah.
bring it back for y'all to approve, so.
I mean, you can make a motion if you want, but I don't think it's
She
necessary.
did. Eggy did.
What was your motion, Ms.
Her
Kay?
motion was to let him advertise for someone to run the pool.
All right, is there a second?
Well, I'll second it if we need it.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As well.
Aye.
I hope, God, it was so successful last year. I hope that we can figure this out. And I know there's jockeying going on, and I do my fair share of it, so I'm not gonna criticize anybody for jockeying around. But we've gotta work together here, Ron. I mean, I know what
We
you're
do,
saying. We gotta figure this out.
I'll talk to you offline on this, but there's more than just this.
Well,
Not with
I
behavioral
just
health
think
one,
it's-
but there's others. We're paying high dollar in
They
this
done
county.
such a good job running that pool.
and that's
They really did.
this is what it is.
It is
And whatever. Okay. Hopefully we can figure it out. Proclamation Older Americans Month. I don't know what this is.
Flip over here to this is gonna be,
So we get money to increase.
of course, it's in our packet, of course, we're off a number, but it's item 8B1 in our I'm sorry, 8C1 in our packet here. Appalachian Agency for Senior Citizens, established in 1963, Older Americans Month is celebrated every May.
Right.
And we just have a proclamation in here that's been prepared for us, asking Dickinson County to proclaim Older Americans Month for May 2023, so.
Since I'm senior on the board, I'll make a motion that we approve this proclamation.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of approval of the proclamation, please signify by saying aye. Aye. As well. And Madam Clerk, I believe for the record that we're going to be in E, 8E, is that right, Peggy?
Correct.
Teresa, I think I'm right, 8E. Yes, perfect.
8D, and since what was in your packet in the addendum, there has been an update that I've sent out from Mr. Sturgill. He reviewed the policies that we had in the packet and had a couple minor changes. They're reflected in what I emailed out to you yesterday, as well as what's, right, maybe in this morning I emailed them out.
Will this cure our issue?
It will. Once we do this, and just to summarize, we have two pieces of this. Number one is going to be updating our, the first one here, our small purchase and procurement policy at the county level. And basically what we have to do in this, we have to try to get our local policy in sync with what the state code allows with our federal policy. And what we have to add in our small purchase policy here is going to be per 2.2-4303 that we can include non-transportation construction as part of our small purchase procurement. No changes have been made to any of the limits in this. That's the main change in this one document here. A few things just kind of cleaned up with the code. It's all marked out in there. And then the second one that we're going to look at is going to be on the federal award management administration. In that, we just cleaned up some language. It was a canned document that we had before, and it had some old language in it that would say for insert amount up to $250,000. We took that out. And other than that, just a few little changes, some typographical changes in here. But this will allow us, because with the ARPA funds that's been approved recently, with those, we have to follow, the federal guidelines on those where there are federal monies. We have to maintain compliance with state and with our local as well. So it kind of puts everything in sync. Will, I don't know if you have anything to add. None of the limits have changed. It's just kind of changing the verbiage so that it allows us to go out and procure mainly this Caney Ridge Fire Station Readiness Building project. So.
And that's correct. Missing from our previous small purchase policy dealt with non-transportation construction, which clearly is allowed up to the $50,000 limit per Virginia code. Well, actually, it could be higher, but but $50,000 would be consistent with what we could offer for everything else. And so, because I think technically it could be up to $200,000. But with that being said, that helps take care of the issue that was presented. But in order to be able to proceed, we needed this update for the policy.
So do you send out the procurement for that?
I will work like with Mr. Kennedy on the County Ridge, and that'll allow him to go ahead and get quotes from 3 vendors on each item. We can split it up like with the building. He can do that, and he can start that as early as tomorrow. If we get this approved tonight, we can get that project moving, so.
They're gonna make it a lot more complex than we thought. Right,
No, it simplifies it. Otherwise, we would have had to done sealed bids. We would have.
Well, that's what but it's still a little more than what we thought though, or they thought, I think.
Right, maybe what they thought.
Gets it done, and I know you've done a lot of work on that.
It gets
Thank
it
you
done,
very
but
much.
yes.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second it.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As well. Brings us to F. Larry, do you want to
Yes,
continue?
F is gonna be item E in the packet, and I will me flip over to the, and actually, you've got the item E, and it's gonna be the E1, the second tab on there is the actual resolution. We've discussed this previously, of course, but for the Board of Supervisors to go out, for the school board to go out for a PPEA to allow them to do the additional construction, the additional classrooms needed to make the changes to incorporate Clintwood Elementary into the new school building starting the August 2024 school season. They have been working on this, and basically they need permission or approval from the Board of Supervisors to enter this interim contract, which is an interim contract in the amount of $286,360 with Quisenberries, and it is for design and pre-construction work. And it's intended to result in a comprehensive agreement for potential construction of 6 additional classrooms at a guaranteed maximum price not to exceed $5,039,200. And of course, the takeaway in this and all the communication, they are not asking the Board of Supervisors for any additional funds for construction of this project. They are using their ESSER funds, which is their ARPA funds, are using a portion of those, as well as there's some remaining funds from the elementary project, and then the state had give some construction items this current school year that we're in, and some federal monies for heat pump HVAC. They're pulling a lot of resources together. So, Mr. Stewart, I don't know if you have anything to add to this from a legal standpoint. You've reviewed everything. And
I've reviewed the agreement. I think it's in order for you all to approve.
Any questions or comments or motions?
You need a motion then to
We do.
make the internal agreement with the school board, and I'll make that motion that we go ahead and allow them to do.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Ms. Kaiser, you good?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't put in no money into this, and this is just a interim agreement that allows them to pool money, more money together and not come back to us. We need to give them our blessings.
So we have a motion. Is there a second? I'm sorry.
I thought someone did.
Yeah, I made a second.
Yeah.
Ms. Tillis seconded. Okay.
Okay.
Any other
Rhonda
discussion?
did.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As well. Madam Clerk, I believe I'm on G, right? New would be the G on the new.
We have
Yes.
Well, I think we just approved it.
Yes, that's what they just
We're
approved.
good.
Yes.
So we need to schedule public hearings for our budget. The suggested dates, May 23rd at 5:45. I'm gonna double check that.
Are we down there?
Well, that's the 6-year plan on that first one. It's the, through VDOT, they'd ask us
It's
to
VDOT.
schedule it before our next meeting, which would be on May 23rd, our standard meeting at 5:45. And then our budget was on our calendar that we approved previously, that June 6th date, if that still works for everyone.
Yes.
No, it's at 5 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Yep.
So
Everybody, you
you're-
still good with those dates, Peggy?
Yes.
What
I still
dates?
do.
June 6th at 5 o'clock was our
Yeah, we
original.
already had that,
Yeah, we
right?
already had that down.
Yeah, and then May
Our regular
23rd.
meeting in May is May 23rd, and 15 minutes before our meeting.
Yeah,
at
that's our
5:45.
regular meeting night, so.
All right, we need a motion to set our, secondary 6-year plan meeting for May 23rd at 5:45.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As well, and then we need to set our public hearing on the budget, and the suggested date's June 6, 23 at 5. Is there a motion to that effect?
I will also make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Willis gets a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As well.
Aye.
Brings us to H, Mr. Barton.
Yes, H is going to be item G in your book, the last thing in your book. We wanted to bring this to your attention. Mr. Sturgill and I have talked to them about this today, and we're just going to talk about this. We're not going to ask that any motions be made today on this, but basically with the grant, the $2,232,000 flood-proof preparedness grant that our building inspector had applied for and got awarded for the San Lee Kayside community to help some of the residences that could not participate in the 202 for whatever reason, the date build or whatever that might be. As part of that grant agreement, we're working right now. He's identified some of the homes that were identified in there. We've had some surveys done, some appraisals done, and doing the legwork on that. Chris is doing a great job with this. But we also need to create an advisory board, and these are a 5-member board. These are the recommendations we had. It would be the county administrator, the building official, and whoever the supervisor is in that district, which of course is in the Sand Lake districts, that'd be Mr. Peters, and then 2 residents that are in the area that will not be participating in this grant, but they're in the area, and we'd identified 2 potentials there, Mr. Scott Anderson and Ms. Brett Sykes.
Yeah,
And-
Brett qualified for the other program.
Correct, right, but they're familiar with it, but they wouldn't be in this one. And then Will and I were talking earlier about, we need to talk about duties and responsibilities of this board and how we administer the grant. So I think that we need to get a little more information and bring that back to you next month. on how this process will work and what the roles and responsibilities of this board will be before we get final approval on that. Is that what we decided?
That would be my recommendation, because before we approve the actual board, we need to have what the board duties are, and
Yeah,
responsibilities.
I agree.
And that way you
And
all
get it all
know
approved at one time,
what that
so-
is when you all approve it.
So we need to
But you can
just,
think about these names, and we
Pass
just
that.
table that. Yeah, we won't take any action on this till next month, so.
Okay.
and, let's see, we have
Move us to I.
other business.
So then we move to I, which is gonna be 8H in this. We got a 1 and a 2 in our addendum here. There's 2
Oh.
deeds in here.
Got it.
Well, I take that back. There's 2 deeds. I guess both are in here, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
H and H2.
Teresa had put this in. Of course, Mr. Sturgill got these prepared today. As you're aware, we've been working with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for participating in the 202 floodproofing project that's occurring in our county. We have 3 county-owned properties that we felt like all along were eligible: the Clinchco Fire Department, the Clinchco Senior Citizens Building, and the Hayside Rescue Squad. Those have been identified by the Corps. We've been working with the Corps on them. And recently, they found some issues with those because they're owned by the non-federal sponsor, which is us, the Board of Supervisors. There was an amendment that was done back in October of 2020 that kind of changed the terms of this agreement and had some language in it which could exclude these properties because they are owned by the Board of Supervisors. The Clinchco Volunteer Fire Department came into the Board of Supervisors' name in June of 2020. And the second property, the Clinchco Senior Citizens Building, came into the county's name in June of 2021. So we've got a property that was actually before the amendment that came to us and a property after the amendment. Myself, Freddie Mullins, and Lehman met Monday morning at 8 o'clock. We've been working on this, trying to get a solution for this. And we feel like if we transfer these properties to the name of the Dickinson County Industrial Development Authority, and I'll have to reach out to the IDA and speak with them about this, that we will see if the Corps will update those applications for us into that name and see if they will be willing to proceed with this in the IDA's name. So what we're asking is that the board consider executing these deeds, transferring these properties to the IDA. And of course, it's contingent if this does not, if we cannot participate, it doesn't work, they can always give these land properties back to us. So, Will, do you have anything?
I don't. I prepared the deeds today, and that way you all have consideration for that. But without doing this, I don't think that
They're
there's.
not eligible.
We won't-
They're
they're
for sure not
eligible.
eligible.
This is our last
This
straw.
is our
I think, so.
last ditch effort to
It
try
is.
to make them eligible.
Correct.
And the Hayside Rescue Squad, there's some title issues with that that's gonna take some time and probably some court action to actually resolve. So we didn't wanna wait until we done that, spent the money and took the time. We thought we were gonna proceed with these 2 and then approach the Corps to see, what we could potentially do
Can we
with
do it
these
one
2.
motion, or do you want separate?
I think with it being 2 separate deeds, it's
Yeah, probably so.
needs 2 separate motions.
I'll make a motion that we approve the first deed.
The first deed would be the Clinchco Volunteer Fire
Yeah,
Department.
Quinchgo Volunteer Fire Department.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye as well.
Aye.
I'll make a motion that we approve the, I was I too. I'll make a motion that we approve the
Senior
deed
citizen.
for the community center.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye as well.
I don't know
Bring
this
that
last
to
one, I
us
think we
to-
should skip this last one.
Yeah.
Our invoice for our board council.
We'll have to cut our budget, not pay him.
Correct, and this,
I'm teasing.
Mr. Sturgill provided this to us today, and it was
Yeah.
staying from the January meeting, January 24th until,
It goes under those.
April 21st on that, so.
I make a motion, we pay the
But
attorney.
it goes under.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye as well. That brings us to item 9, unless I missed something, Madam Clerk or Mr. Administrator.
No, you're good.
I think we covered it all.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Get
we
it
did.
on.
I think you're right.
Item 9A, closed session. We'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I make a motion, we go into closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A, 1 personnel, all departments, Section 2.2-37 11A5 Economic Development Update.
Is there a second? And Mr. Barton, did that
I'll
cover
second it.
what we needed? Okay.
Peggy said.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well. We'll now be in closed session. All right, we're now back in open session. Need a motion to certify matters discussed in closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we only discuss those issues that we went into closed session for.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Ms. Kaiser, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Willis?
Yes.
Ms. Sluss?
Yes.
Mr. Peters? Yes for me as well. Closed session is certified. And are there any motions coming out of closed session?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to amend our drug and alcohol testing policy to be consistent with page 18 of Drug-Free Workplace Act, which states that any violation of this prohibition will be subject to disciplinary action up to termination and are required to satisfactorily participate in a drug abuse program.
Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second it.
I'd like to discuss now.
Go ahead.
Okay. Brings back memories when I first got on the Board of Supervisors and they had a computer network across the county, DC Win. We kept running into problems because people wouldn't pay their bill and they'd get service shut off. And then the customer would call their supervisor and they didn't have the courage to say, sorry, you gotta pay your bill. So it ended up turning the system back on for them. I am kind of perplexed by this because we had problems with this in the past. We adopted a policy that we've used once before. We let a person go for this. Are we gonna rehire that person now that we're gonna change our policy to make an exception? I can't condone that, because we made clear when we did these policies that every employee had to read it and sign a piece of paper so they knew what their requirements were. We have got to protect the county liability-wise, so we can't afford people with the indiscretions of our drug policy. And ours is a zero tolerance. And I just don't see that we should be adjusting for this because you got a call from the person and you didn't have the courage to say, look, I'm sorry, you shouldn't have done it. So that's my statement.
I didn't, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I did not get no call for saying, and I did not say you shouldn't have done it. I quoted something that I thought was apropos at the time. And I still think it's apropos.
Any other discussion on the motion? Ms. Kaiser, how do you vote on the motion?
Yes.
Ms. Willis?
I think I have to stick with our policy that we've had, that it's worked, and we've used it on other employees.
2 votes no.
Yes.
Your vote's no.
Yeah.
And Ms. Sluss is yes. Mr. Peters?
No.
I vote yes. The motion passes. Is there any other motions coming out of closed session?
Should have one more, Mr. Chair.
What?
Truck shop.
Truck shop.
Yeah.
Is there a motion in regard to the other matter?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we hire, Roger Trevino for the truck shop.
I'll second. Any other discussion on that motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. As well. Any other motions out of closed session or matters? Okay, I guess we'll move on to supervisor comments. Ms. Kaiser, the reason I'm starting with you, I'm sorry, you're to my right on the TV screen, so I know that's a little bit unusual. That's the only reason I'm doing it. I'm sorry, if you want to start.
Well, I appreciate you all allowing me to, participate remotely. And like I said in the beginning of the meeting, I plan to start back attending all of our board meetings in the month of May. They say I am ahead of progress in healing and moving my leg, which I'm very pleased with that. It still hurts, it still swells, but I'm just glad that I got getting this behind me to move forward and be able to get out, get around and maneuver. Thank everybody for thinking about me for the last 3 weeks. Ask everybody to continue to remember Beth. This last chemo treatment on Thursday, she had some battles this weekend. Had to face some tough decisions. And, but she's strong. She went back to work Monday and she's battling this courageously, and I give God all the praise for that.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Kaiser. Ms. Willis,
I don't have any comments.
Ms. Love.
Well, I'm certainly glad that you're doing better, Peggy, and and being rehabilitated and making progress, and I pray for Beth every night. And there's a lot of tragedy in our county and our adjoining counties in the last week, where the little boy, well, I call him little boy, 14 years old, died in a ATV accident, and a fella that was in church and accidentally shot himself. I watched him during church, and I certainly grieve for these families.
Mr. Peters.
Oh, let's see, what do I say? I'm very perplexed at the actions we did tonight, because I can remember when Mr. Barton came to work for us, he immediately confronted us with evidence that one of our employees was purely negligent, and we couldn't get that board to take an action. And then when it was talked amongst us, we couldn't do any action still because that person was a member of a board member's church, and we went, that's still being investigated by the state police. And I just gotta wonder,
She's not a member of the church.
every time there's a hard decision, this board struggles to make it. Thank you.
Yeah, it is hard decisions. And when
I
you
have to
sit in
repeat
these.
what he just said.
Go ahead.
This person he mentioned is not a member of the church. Ron, you can think up some doozies sometime.
Well, they're not. I don't think anybody skated around a hard decision tonight. We voted, so there was decisions that were made, and there's public records of votes, and so that's where we are. It's a very hard job, and I don't know. It's been a hard meeting, but I think we're moving forward. And there's always, every month, going to be challenges. There's going to be things that come up that press your conscience and press your judgment. And all you can do is make the best decision that you can make for the benefit of the county and what you think's the right thing. And so I think everybody, all 5 of us have done that. And whether you voted the same way or you didn't, you've done what you felt was appropriate. And that's what bureaucracy and government and democracy is all about. And that's it. I'm proud to be on this board. I'm proud of the work we've done. I'm proud of how hard we all work, especially Mr. Barton. And you're never going to see eye to eye. And it's a hard job. That's why our citizens need to take serious who you elect to positions. People that have done hard work, people that have made decisions, serious decisions, people who deal with law, employment law, human resources, government budgets. It's very complex, it's very hard, and very stressful. So I hope everybody will pray for our government and our state and our nation, and pray for each other, whether we disagree or not, and that's just all we can do. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Ayes, well.